which means I'm going to have to lose more off the base. Yeah, I want to lose it off the base because it'll also give me a chance to thin out the base. I don't want to lose much more off the tip because the tip's already thin, but I like it. I like it the way it's progressing. I'm going to do a plan A and a plan B. I'm still focused on that obstacle. It's a very difficult obstacle to smooth out. And you can kind of tell how difficult the obstacles are by the amount of time devoted to getting rid of them. In most cases. Not all cases. Sometimes I'll do a direct attack on an obstacle. And I'll get lucky. And remove it without a lot of time. But this one I can't afford to take that risk. It's already in the thinning stage. I can take that risk in the bifacing stage more easily than I can right now. Because if I take too many risks, the chance of snapping it in half goes way up. Yeah. So this abrader or this file, I can tell it's getting dull pretty fast. When it's very coarse, it works. But there seems to be no substitute for these cheap Harbor Freight files. Yeah, these will last a good while. Now, I'm looking at the opportunities. Maybe it's better that I shoot some flakes from this side. There's a lot more meat on this edge than there is on that edge. So maybe it'd be smarter for me to smack off some flakes from this side. Let's see. And I'm going to change the diameter of the flaker. From experience, I think a smaller diameter may work well. Okay, I already filed on this side, yeah. But that's too narrow. Just want to make sure I get all the grit out of there. All the stone dust. Okay. Concentrate the force because it's pretty small. This piece is pretty small now, so I think it's better if I concentrate the force. And with a really hard hit. Yeah, if I can get that here, I might be able to clear out a bunch of that mess. Extremely hard hit. One of the hardest hits of the whole operation. And you wouldn't think that I would be hitting that hard at this stage, but yeah. To clear off obstacles like that, especially the distance needed, I need a hard hit. And luckily, it didn't remove a lot of the edge with a bite. It did a small bite, see that? But not too bad. It'll always do a little bit of a bite, but sometimes it's a major bite, and you don't want that. Yeah. So now it's a matter of just making it look better, smoother. I already got the biggest part of that obstacle flattened down. Yeah. Right in here was the worst part. Now, you might think that the steppy area is the worst part. I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. I could be wrong, though. I can see that this might be really nasty, so let me take care of some other stuff first and thin this down a little bit more before I attack the middle again. I still see some bulkiness up here. It's just a habit, which has served me well in the past, so I'm going to keep the habit. Okay. Keep the habit of thinning the ends down more than more than the middle. Substantially more, not just a little bit. Sometimes you don't have much choice. You can only do a little bit here and there. But it makes a difference because, I'll say it over and over, little subtle differences makes all the difference sometimes. This is when a smaller diameter comes in handy because I can get right into a very specific area to drive a flake that I think is the most advantageous. Without having to worry about what's around it. The edge is not perfectly prepared. It's all kind of, it's still, even though it might look like it's pretty consistent, it's still got a lot of waves in it. So I've got to, pick my spot carefully, and the smaller the tip, the easier I can get into a specific spot. I don't want to have to isolate it every time because it removes a lot of width. Isolation removes a lot of width. Okay. I'd rather remove width from strikes than edge preparation. But that's just me. There are different ways to go about doing that. Some might find it more advantageous to remove width. I'm still focusing on that obstacle, but I see a lump up here. I don't want the tip to be thick. And why didn't I do it earlier? Well, I don't know. I tend to do everything in proportion to what's happening. Yeah. All right, I'm going to attack that mess and see if that works. That was a hard hit, but it didn't do anything. That worries me. Extremely hard hit. And not exactly where I wanted it, right? I did that on purpose to get more of the meat out of there, but it was just a little bit too far that way, I suppose. No. I think there's a translucency there. In my experience, hitting onto that translucency is not that great. That's probably why I moved down a little bit into a more solid, opaque area. Translucencies usually indicate quartzite or something similar, which is not that great for knapping. Yeah. You can see the translucency there. It's probably one of the reasons why this portion of the edge is not doing so well. Okay. I took a chance on that one. Let's see if I can pick that out. This is not a good development. Where is my pressure flaker? Yeah, there it is. My big spatula tool. Let's see if I can pick that out. No. That's really, yeah, that's why. It's really tough. That's why it stepped there. That's really, really tough. So I'm going to wait to finish that out later. Yeah, I'm going to wait to remove that later. I might be able to remove those steps or minimize them with pressure later. So let me continue on other areas. I am going to come back to it. Since it's not completely gone, everything is still focused around eliminating that. for the most part. Let's see if I can try to eliminate what's developing into another curve. It's too much. It's scooped out a little bit too much, especially right there where the last strikes were. So I'm going to take more meat off of this side to keep it straight. Yep. Unfortunately, we're still besieging that obstacle. That little stack fortress. Siege continues. Yeah. In hindsight, it might have been better to just reduce a lot of width. But I never nap in hindsight. I don't pay too much attention to what I could have done, because you never know. I might have gotten lucky with just a slight variation in the technique, and I would have been fine. I think I can minimize it a little bit later. May have to lose a little bit off the tip. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Get closer to the obstacle by reducing some of this width on this side. Yeah. So I clipped the tip off a little bit more than I thought I was going to do, but oh well. And then move the whole edge. I could strike a flake here, but again, I don't like trying to eliminate an obstacle with the ending of a flake. I'd rather eliminate the obstacle with the middle. Now, if it still looks pretty bad when I reduce the width, I'm probably going to give up and just leave however much is left in there. Yeah, I'll try to minimize it. I'm seeing kind of an opportunity to go across this way, but I won't be able to get to this. I might be able to get rid of this one, but I won't be able to get to that one from this side. This side I can probably clear these two out, this one and that one, by hitting on this side. I might just have to leave most of that one in. Yeah. If it's for myself, for a hunting point, let's say, I'm not too worried about that little step fracture. So that didn't reach very far. It predictably went through the nice material, this flake. It didn't need that much force to travel. I didn't want to use a lot of force. This is my good side. If I used a lot of force, I risk removing too much of this edge with a bite. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So okay, I'll reduce the edge. This is a good learning opportunity for those who are very persnickety. Or those who want to be very persnickety. It just takes time. You can start developing speed over time, and I'm napping more slowly than I usually do because I'm trying to explain it. But it usually means more time when you want to be a little too persnickety about things, because you just can't stand being otherwise. You just can't stand being any other way. It's got to be persnickety. That's fine. Always a braid after a pass Sometimes I don't. I forget. I run into problems with crushed edges. You abrade to prevent edges from crushing because you need a good seat for the tooltip. Yeah, you just want to pop like this. Pop, pop. If it's scrunching or feeling crunchy, you didn't abrade it enough. Usually, that's what it means. Sometimes you can't help it. It's just the material that's very crunchy. Come on. I abraded that too much. There it is. It's still crunching. Even though I abraded it a lot. Let's see, is it step fracturing? Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit crunchy, but oh well. See that light? I need to move this light. I moved the shop light around a little bit. I might need to move it back to its original location. I like where it is right now because it's way out of the way. When I stand up, I'm not going to be hitting the light like I do sometimes. When I stand up, my leg will hit the light. Especially if I want to go to the house in a hurry. Anyways, I'm just talking about something other than the flaking to pass the time because this is tedious. Yeah, it's difficult for me to make that decision to run another flake into there because I'm spending a lot of time keeping it straight, and I'm gonna curve it once more time by driving another flake in there to try to get rid of the steps. Oh well, and I'm gonna be hitting that translucent area. It's probably why I haven't gotten rid of that obstacle yet, because I hesitate hitting the translucent area. Sometimes it makes it worse. Yeah. If you say to yourself, just hit it. Just hit that spot. It's so easy. It looks like such an easy flake. Yeah, I know. You can easy your way into a difficult situation. Just like you can smart your way into being stupid. Excessive abrading sometimes can get you out of a bind. I still don't like it, but I'm going to see. I'm going to try it. Yeah. All right. Very, very hard hit. Just to make sure. And voila. Yeah. I like it. So that's the last major obstacle. Now comes the secondary thinning or the final thinning. Yeah, well, there's one more obstacle right there. Let's take that out. Try a little bit hitting the face of that step fracture, perhaps. Maybe it'll loosen a little bit of it. No. All right, so now I'm focused on this obstacle. Let's do what we can to set that up. That one's not that difficult at first glance. Yeah, that's a typical step fracture. It doesn't have to do really with the quality of the material. It was just probably a weak edge. You can't always predict how strong the edge is just by looking at it. Sometimes it'll look strong when it isn't. I think I can get it. Yeah. A little bit overkill. But that's okay. I do need to remove a lot of mass from this area to keep it straight. So I think it's good. There's still quite a bit of lumpiness here. Yeah, let's deal with that. Oops. Can't have that happening. No, no. No slipping, because if I do this and slip, I can hit the workpiece with the mallet, and that's a big no-no. I have broken several workpieces with the mallet by, you know, putting too much pressure before the strike, or not paying attention to how well it's seated and have it slip and then ding, hit the workpiece. If sometimes you notice that I don't abrade after each pass, it's either because I'm lazy or I'm taking advantage of dull spots that are still there. Sometimes both. This is directly in the center, so this is a dangerous hit. I got to make sure if I take a hit right in the exact middle, I've got to be careful that everything else is just right. So I can feel confident that the flake I'm taking is not going to snap it in half. But even so, that kind of flake can snap it in half. Even when everything looks perfect. Yeah, luckily that translucent spot isn't too bad. It is kind of stubborn, but it's not too bad. See, I just tried hitting it several times. Okay, so I got rid of what looked like a lot of lumps. All the other lumps that I can see appear to be less intimidating. Oops. That's not good. I misjudged that one. Yeah, I'm trying to get trying to remove a thick spot here. Okay. Why? Oh, because I can still see it. I'm running into some of the same issues. See that? Just a little bitty step fracture right there. I'm going to leave that in. I don't care about that. But, again, the same issue. It has to do with the material itself. Yeah. But it was thick right there. It just didn't want to travel all the way. But I can get that later on with pressure flaking. So that's the preliminary thinning, or first stage. Secondary thinning is the final thinning. Where do I need to thin it more? Here on this side, especially. I need to run a pass down this side. Flakes going in this way. To get rid of that crunchiness right there. Yeah. Seems easy enough because this is good quality material. Relatively easy. And that's it. But I'm not going to do the secondary thinning on this video. No. And I didn't even get to this piece. But these are very similar, it looks like. Let's see. Just in case I'm wrong, let me see. I'm going to take some flakes off of this. Of course, I could have stopped sooner on this piece than I did and just sharpened the edges as is, leaving in step fractures and whatever. It depends on what this is going to be used for and the final perceived dimensions, or you might even have a pattern that you're working with. Okay. Yeah, it's similar. This is actually better. Yeah, I like this. This is nice. This feels like Hornstone, high-grade Hornstone. Oh, yes. Some of my favorite stuff. It's a pleasure to work with this. I like high-grade Hornstone better than high-grade Georgetown, for example. Yeah. This high-grade Hornstone will show your mistakes a lot, but I still like it better. Yeah. This is similar, but it doesn't have any of the, it doesn't look like it has any of these inclusions. It's very similar. Yeah. Okay. And this one here is Sonora. These are all very similar. Okay, so it was good that I had done this before the video. I think Sonora is like a version of Hornstone. They all have that little glittery effect. If you look in there, you can see all those little tiny crystals in there. It's common in Sonora and some of the Hornstone. You can see them in this also. Looks like glitter. And I think there's some in this. Oh, I don't want you to look at this nasty part there. It probably has a bunch in there. That I want to see if there's some in the other spots. A little bit. Yeah, okay, so these are similar pieces. Alrighty. Let's clean up. Clean up for the photo. And then I'm going to do a little bit more napping tonight and then continue tomorrow. I'll do more videos tomorrow. Probably another instructional one. I need to nap some glass. For somebody, well, for several people. Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of requests for glass and obsidian. All right, there you go. That's it.